Hoosiers helping Hoosiers across central Indiana. These are our friends and neighbors on 95.5 WFMS.
Well, I'm Matt Malone, and we are excited to be able to bring in one of our friends and our neighbors, Tracy, who is all dressed up in the St. Jude uniform as well. You got your This Shirt Saves Lives t-shirt on. I love that. I should have worn mine today. Why did I not do that?
You tell me, Matt. St. Jude all day, every day.
Well, you know what? I carry St. Jude with me every single day, as I've got a St. Jude tattoo, and that is just kind of proof there in my passion behind this cause and this organization. And I want to kind of give a platform because a lot of people hear St. Jude and they're like, well, why would I want to support St. Jude when we have local hospitals here? And I want to break that stigma because really St. Jude is every hospital. And that is a firm belief that I hold true because even the hospitals here rely on the work that St. Jude does, right?
That's right. So St. Jude treats children across the country and around the world, regardless of color, creed, financial capability, because we're committed to loving and caring for our neighbors. And so our partners across the country, across the world, they all use these protocols invented at St. Jude to treat their patients. And St. Jude has helped to push the overall cure rate for childhood cancer survivorship from 20% when the hospital opened in 1962 to more than 80% now.
Think about how long they have been working, the scientists, and you think about, doctors' hours and maybe it's like, 8 hours, 12 hours and whatever. But St. Jude researchers are working around the clock. And that is part of the benefit of supporting St. Jude is they're tirelessly working to not just care for patients who are going through their treatment and going through such a difficult time, but they're honestly trying to end cancer. Their goal is to close their doors so they don't have to do it anymore. I would love to be able to help out, the other hospitals here where they can close down that cancer, wing of their hospital, right? Wouldn't that be a great day?
That is absolutely what we're working toward. And that's one of the things that we really focus on is it's a true bench to bed process. Mm-hmm. So when the funding comes in, not only does it make sure that no family pays for treatment, travel, housing, or food when they're a patient at St. Jude, but they also help to fund the research at St. Jude. And it's the research that's done right there in the hospital. You can turn right around and be at someone's bedside in the same location.
I've had the opportunity to go and be at St. Jude multiple times and just tour and see exactly what it is like there. And you mentioned the families, and you think about everything that a family is going through emotionally and the care and the love that is given by everybody there, with everybody having the understanding that, like, this is a very traumatic experience. And I look at that and I see all these families, and they're not really reflecting that. They're smiling. They're filled with joy. The hospital itself doesn't look like a hospital. Tell me a little bit more about why that's such an important thing for everybody that walks through those doors.
Yep. So we don't just treat the cancer or the illness. We treat the entire patient. We treat the entire family. And we believe that all children should be given the quality of care that they deserve. And so that's not just, like I said, the medicine and the treatment and the protocols. It's making sure that they get to go to school and they don't fall behind. It's making sure that we are looking ahead at, what these side effects from these drugs could cause later in life. And that's why we had the St. Jude Life Study. And so patients can be part of the life study where we follow them truly through life and make sure that we're catching, secondary heart disease or anything like that. We do a lot with the families. We have Sibling Star Day where the siblings get to be the stars because so often the child who's going through the treatment is the one who gets all the attention. Understandably, but it's still difficult when you're a younger sibling, older sibling that, you want the attention as well. So we make sure that all of the family gets the help that they need.
A lot of times, kids don't understand really fully what's going on. They hear this word, they hear cancer, they hear chemotherapy, and they don't fully comprehend, what that is. They just know that the love's not being focused on them, and everybody's always worried about how brother or sister is doing.
And we've had some siblings in the past who have said that they wish they had cancer so that they could be the center of attention as well.
Yeah.
And it just breaks your heart because you know that, all they're craving is their parent or their family's attention. And so we try to make sure that, they're also not falling behind at school, that they find the comforts at the hospital or wherever they are, just the same as they would if they were at home.
Yeah. So we're having our friends and neighbors conversation, if you're just joining, with our friend Tracy from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Alsac. And I think this is such a really cool thing to be able to talk about, because we talk about the whole family. We talk about the experiences, trying to make things as normal as possible. One of my favorite things to talk about is the fact that doing things like prom, right? Mm-hmm. That's a thing that still happens at St. Jude because that's such a vital part of the high school experience. And St. Jude makes that happen. What else besides just prom do you still give to these patients, to these families to experience?
Truly anything that you can think of as a core memory. We have the St. Jude prom, the sibling star day. We make sure that all the holidays are celebrated. And if you can think of being, in a medicine room or in a hospital on Christmas morning, instead of at home running down the steps to see what's under the tree or in a stocking, we make sure that it's just as magical for the kids who are at the hospital. We make sure that, when Easter or Halloween, 4th of July, whatever it is that we're celebrating, Diwali, we do all of these different events and we do them big. We celebrate big. I know that, like you had said, cancer and the diagnosis and going through the treatment can be scary and sad and emotional. So we try to do all we can to bring the joy back into the lives of these children and their families. And we do it any way that we can.
Yeah. One of the ways that we do that, obviously, is through our St. Jude Radiothon to help be able to find a way to help fund not only these fun events, but also funding the research. And our Country Cares for St. Jude Kids radiothons that are not just here with us on WFMS, but this happens on country stations all over the country. This is a testament to show how unified we are as country music fans and even country music artists to be a part of this. And you see this shirt saves lives. I wear the shirt at least twice a week, I feel like, because I've got so many of them, which I love. But you think about these artists that support and wear these same shirts too. These artists that could support any cause that they wanted. They've got all the money that they put out to philanthropy and they focus it on St. Jude. That's a testament as to what kind of an organization this is, right?
And I think, beyond looking at the public figures and the celebrities and, the individuals, I think it's a testament to look at the parents or the former patients who still support St. Jude.
Yes.
The number of people who work for ALSAC, the number of individuals who have become pediatric oncologists because they were treated at St. Jude, because their sibling was treated at St. Jude, their child was treated at St. Jude. I think that is a huge testament, is that we have the biggest network and family across the country, across the globe, of individuals who support this organization, support this cause, because they've seen firsthand how important it is, how impactful it is. And it's huge. I've got coworkers who I find out every day, like, I had no idea that they were treated at St. Jude. Mm-hmm. And it's just incredible to see them put so much passion into giving back to a cause that saved their life.
Absolutely. If you're just joining us here too, Tracy is with ALSAC St. Jude, and I want to make sure that we highlight this as well, because you are very passionate about St. Jude, and I'm not going to try to get you emotional, but we all have our attachment, and I'll explain mine too. But why is this such a passionate cause for you? Why have you devoted your life to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital?
It's kind of a full circle moment for me. When I started college, I was going into biology, pre-med. I wanted to be a pediatric oncologist. 18 years old, that was my dream. And I started dating a guy, and a few weeks after getting to University of Louisville, he was going home every weekend. I'm like, what are you doing? We're in college. We're freshmen. What are you doing? Why are you going home? We're supposed to party. And he was going home to get chemo.
And he didn't tell you that.
He didn't tell me. He didn't want me to treat him differently.
Yeah.
And so he actually was a St. Jude patient. He had his primary diagnosis. He was in remission, and then he was 18 years old, and he was had a recurrence of his disease. And so he was going through his chemo protocol and Neupogen, Neulasta shots, and I became a caregiver. And I went to St. Jude with him, and I was waiting outside of the room where he was getting a PET scan. And a little boy came up with his backpack on of IV dye and a couple of PICC lines, and he asked me to read a book to him. And my heart sank into my stomach, and I was like, I will give you the world. So, being full of knowledge at 18 years old, I went back and changed my major the next week, completely out of medicine.
Yeah.
And since then, I had twins in 2019, and my daughter, she died 2 days after birth, and she had a chromosomal deletion. And a lot of the work that St. Jude is doing now with genetic mutations and gene editing and gene therapies, I think it's not only the cure to a lot of cancers, but a lot of other illnesses as well, like sickle cell disease. There's a really strong chance that we're going to have a cure soon. And it's coming straight out of St. Jude. And it's incredible to me to see that some of these diseases are, they're going to be cured in our lifetime when they were once thought to be incurable.
Yeah.
And so when I first walked into the Tamar Rashid building on campus, there is a sign up at the top in English and in Arabic, and it says, "No child should die in the dawn of life." One of Danny Thomas's famous quotes. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm here, is because I lost a child, and I don't believe that anyone else should have to go through that.
Yeah. First of all, and we've talked about this before, and I'm obviously very sorry to hear about your loss. And if there's ever to be a silver lining in anything that happens in our lives or in the world, is to be able to use something that happened to us to prevent it from happening to other people. So I love that that's how you chose to go through and continue the mission of St. Jude. I've not had anybody at St. Jude in my life, but my mom actually had cancer as a teenager twice. And, as a twin, you think about what it would have been like had these protocols not been in place, or these scientific breakthroughs come through because of the work that St. Jude does. There's a chance that I myself would not be here. My twin sister wouldn't be here. My beautiful and amazing nephew and niece, my brother-in-law would never have been in my life. Like, I would have missed out on life. And I feel like that in its entirety is a way to kind of think about the blessings you have and devote a mission to try to spread the word and just explain what a great cause St. Jude is and why that should be supported, because their research that's done in Memphis, sure, but it is freely shared to every single hospital, not just here in Indiana, not just here in Indianapolis, not just in our country, worldwide. You mentioned the saying, "No child should die in the dawn of life," and how that was in English and Arabic. But when you actually walk through the doors of St. Jude and you look up and you see all of these flags representing every single country, tell me about what those flags actually stand for.
So the flags, when you walk into some of the research buildings, it is every researcher, doctor, scientist who helps to come up with these cures. There is a flag representing every single one of them. And it's amazing because with their research, they could go work anywhere in the world. But they're at St. Jude for a reason. And St. Jude supports the researchers with their there's breakthroughs that they're having. There's cutoff. There's no, oh, you're not making any money. It's time to stop now. St. Jude continues doing it. And because of that, we're able to provide thousands of free consultations for doctors treating kids worldwide.
Wow.
And so, it's not just that we're inventing the protocols and the research. It is training the doctors that are not at St. Jude. It is consulting with other physicians so that those patients are getting the best care possible.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are, because of funding and because of our partnerships with organizations and hospitals around the world, we've partnered with 15 different children's hospitals and foundations, and we're providing free chemotherapy and immunotherapy drugs around the world.
Say it one more time. How much does it cost?
To treat one child?
No. Just the cost that it costs to the patients, to the families.
Oh, it's to treat one child is $450,000.
Well, no, but to the patients, it's free.
Oh, yes, free.
Free. That's amazing. It's not costing them. And you think about, what the actual cost is, any other hospital,
yes.
all these other things.
$450,000 is the average cost to treat one child through their cancer journey.
Unbelievable. And so if that's not just if you're a numbers person, if you don't hear that number and think about how free is so much better.
Oh, there's people who will show up ready to sell their house and everything they own, and they're handing us insurance cards and credit cards, and it's just kind of like a pat on the shoulder and like, oh, sweetie, that's precious. You think that you need to give us all of that. No, you don't.
In fact, we're going to give you a card to go and get groceries,
right,
and to do all these other things.
And here's your welcome kit in case you forgot a toothbrush when you packed in the middle of the night to get here.
Yeah. Tracy is here with us with LSAC, talking about St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and the amazing work that they do, and that welcome kit. And you think about what it's like, hearing those words as a parent. Your child has cancer, like devastating, crushing. And when you find out, you get that call that you're going to St. Jude, like what you said, it is right away. Like it is within hours that you are heading to go to Memphis and being in good hands. But let's talk a little bit about the fact that when you're a patient there, you go through your treatments. Some patients are staying there. Some people go there just for the treatment, and then they end up coming home. Is that right?
That's right. There's some patients who they will go for their initial scans. They will go for, for their diagnostic testing. But then it turns out that there's a protocol that can be done at their local hospital. Mm-hmm. And so instead of taking a child away from, their extended family and their friends and their school and everything that they know, we want to be able to keep them at home. We want to be able to have them treated locally. And that's why, hospitals in our backyards are so important, because not every child needs to be away from everything that they know. But we do have some who it's a lengthy protocol. I mean, they could be at St. Jude for 18 months to 3 years living there. And we've had families who do pack up and move, and, they're ready to do whatever it takes. There's patient families right here in Indiana who younger siblings have been born at hospitals in Memphis because the older sibling was going through treatment there. And the number of younger siblings who have the middle name Jude is amazing.
Yes.
And it's, these kids, not only the ones going through treatment, are growing up in the hospital and with all the nurses and, all the incredible family centers that we have, but then their younger siblings are too.
Yeah.
And that's part of taking care of the whole family.
The whole family experience. I mean, it's unbelievable. Let's talk about Jude for a second, right? So St. Jude. And let's talk a little bit about Danny Thomas's vision, right? This St. Jude is actually the saint of hopeless causes.
Yep.
Right. And when he was feeling at his lowest point, like, I just need a break in, my acting career, in my movie career.
He was struggling. Trying to break into his acting career.
Yeah. And he said, if you give me this opportunity and give me success in whatever fashion, I will build a shrine to you. And what a cool shrine
Right.
that St. Jude is.
And that's St. Jude Thaddeus. That statue was one of the first unveilings when the hospital opened in 1962. And I mean, you have to imagine, like, you're struggling. You don't have work at the time in the 50s. You've got $7 in your pocket, and your daughter is about to be born. And at the time, you had to pay the hospital bill before you could take your child home.
Yeah.
There was no bill me later invoicing. And so he didn't have enough money to get his daughter out of the hospital when she was born. And that's Marlo Thomas. And
we all know her.
We
right?
all know her. She's on our commercials. She's a great voice of St. Jude. And he went into the hospital, and his wife was getting ready to have the baby. So he went to his local parish and he prayed to St. Jude Thaddeus, show me my way and I'll build you a shrine. He took his last $7 and put it into the offering plate. And the following week, he made double that as a singing toothbrush on a radio commercial. So that kind of sparked his career into acting. And there was another time later on that, okay, I need some guidance again. And he prayed to St. Jude Thaddeus and show me my way, I'll build you a shrine. And so he finally, came with the idea for the Children's Hospital, and that's where he went.
It's amazing. It's amazing. If you're just joining us, Tracy's here with us from LSAC, the fundraising arm of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Let's talk a little bit about we talked about families coming home and doing some of their treatment here or wherever they call home instead of being just in Memphis. Let's talk about some of the ways that we could support St. Jude Children's Research Hospital while being here in Indianapolis, because we know we have patients that are here that are traveling to Memphis. We know there are patients that have had their care in Memphis. Tell me, what can we do here that is something that we can say, you know what, I feel good about what I'm doing to help St. Jude?
One of the biggest is the funding. Most of our funding comes from individual supporters, so that no family pays St. Jude for anything. And that is one of the biggest ways. So whether that's becoming a partner in hope, where you sign up on a credit card to give $19 a month, and you get a really cool "This Shirt Saves Lives" shirt.
Yeah. What a great campaign that is.
Right. Or you make a single donation, or you have a charitable gift annuity. You want to leave St. Jude in your will as part of a bequest and be part of the Danny Thomas Society. Or if you want to participate in different events that we do. We've got fundraising and awareness events that we do all year round locally. Our local patient families, they come out and support these events. It's a great way to bring the feel of the hospital out to them. And then if you want to host your own event, and, we've got people who do hog roasts and cornhole tournaments bowling tournaments, car shows, fishing tournaments. I mean, all of these different things. There are ways to support St. Jude in a variety of mediums.
What a great catch a fish, save a life campaign. Right? Look at that. Look, we just gave you a name for your event. Let's go. Let's make this happen.
Absolutely.
So I know that we're kind of jumping around here in a couple different areas, but one other thing I want to talk about, we mentioned that there's a lot of past patients that have come back to work for St. Jude or work for LSAC, and I think that's amazing. But another cool thing, too, is sometimes these patients find each other and fall in love. So tell me a couple patients or stories that you can recall about that happening.
One of my most favorites is that there is a coworker named Joel. He hosts our Storied Lives podcast, which is a great way just to listen to these stories and bring some awareness to your life and understand what some of the patients and families go through. But Joel does a lot of our media, does a lot of those interviews, and he was a patient. He ended up having an arm amputation because of the cancer that he had. And as he was at St. Jude as a patient, he knew of another girl named Lindsay. She also was going through her own cancer battle. And then they kind of went their separate ways and later on came back together, and they've now been married. And it's just incredible that, that's one of many stories. We have a lot. We had a wedding just recently, I think last year at the chapel at St. Jude. It was former patient who she got married there. She got married at the place that saved her life. Wow. And it's not just, we talk about the love that comes out of it. And you've shared how you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your mom's treatment. And we're doing a lot now for family planning and preservation because a lot of times the treatments that people go through and these kids go through, it destroys their ability to have kids before they even think about having kids. And so now we're doing things like egg freezing and looking at fertility from a very early standpoint so that we can preserve that if they're interested later on. So it's, quality of life is not just in that moment. It's the quality of your entire life and being able to carry on your legacy.
That's amazing. I swear, everybody at St. Jude, they think of everything.
Right.
Like, it's amazing to me.
Our new family room is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I haven't been able to be in it yet because it just recently opened. But there's a hair salon and a nail salon. And, if kids want to get their nails painted, mom wants to get her nails painted, you want to feel a little bit normal when all you're doing is walking the halls of the hospital. There's different classrooms for different age groups. There is a room that is for teens only. No one but teens are allowed in. And there's a lot of just places where kids can just go. And if you want to just get away from all of it, we have rooms where a kid can just go in and take a nap and watch TV and be away from the disease in the hospital for a little bit. But the coolest thing, being a science nerd, is there is a glass wall with on either side raising tables and microscopes that are connected. So viewers to these microscopes on either side of the glass wall. And patients and their families have the ability to sit across from their oncologist or their physician or even the researcher who is looking at the specific, gene or the specific drug or whatever it is for their specific case. And the researcher can sit across from them and show them under a microscope exactly what they're seeing. So they get to look at their samples and really be a part of their treatment.
Try to understand it a little bit better. This is me.
And the tables can go all the way down for the height of little kids and, up for bigger kids. And it's just a super cool bench to bed opportunity.
So as we're getting ready to wrap up here, the conversation here today with Tracy from ALSAC, part of our St. Jude Children's Research Hospital fundraising arm of the organization, where can we get more information about St. Jude? Because I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here today, but there's always more to learn. stjude.org. That's going to be your starting spot. That is going to, tell you how you can get a referral to St. Jude. It's going to tell you how you can get involved, ways to give, anything local you can search there. If you just want to read some of our impact stories, there's so many. We have so many great stories. And that's also where you can find information on the podcasts and different things that we're doing. Yeah. It's amazing the work that St. Jude Children's Research Hospital does. And I don't want to downgrade or downplay any other hospitals because, every hospital has a specific role that they play in what they do. But when you're looking for the best, when you're looking for the research, for the care, nobody comes remotely close to what St. Jude Children's Research Hospital does, and the fact that they are sharing that to make sure that every hospital has a part of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. This is why you should be supporting this organization, because they're literally freely sharing all of their research to anybody and everybody, and they've saved lives because hospitals have called and said, hey, I've got a specific patient who's going through this. Do you have anything that might be able to help? they've saved lives because of that. We've got patients here that are going through treatment. We've got families who have gone through treatment. If you need a testimonial, and you know somebody who's been there, talk to them. They will give you probably the best shining recommendation and endorsement for St. Jude. And take it from me too, as somebody who's been there, who's seen it for themselves firsthand. St. Jude is an amazing, amazing place. So Tracy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You bet. That's your Friends and Neighbors program for today with LSAC, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Get in touch and tell us about your charitable organization or upcoming event at WFMS.com.
This has been a Friends and Neighbors community show. Thanks for listening.